Victor is here. Yossi Wiener's here. Yossi Wiener is a chassid. We get to make a lot of fun of Yossi Wiener because he's the newest member who just got married. So he gets, the Prima Godim is here. Wow, the Prima Godim had a smartphone. I never knew that. Unbelievable. Oh, wow. I have a greenhouse. What's this all about? It's like Isaac, the Eichel, Bracha. I'm not sure what just happened here. I have a greenhouse. Could you put some clothing on first of all? What are you doing over here? Kamarna. Of course the Kamarna. The Shulchan HaTorah. What's going on with you? Prima Godim. Look at that. Yossi Wiener in the middle of Shavuot Brachas. Oh, that's so nice. Irvin is here. Slansky just showed up. That was very nice. Ari Weintraub just showed up. Very nice. The Hofferts are here. The Prima Godims. Unbelievable. All right, let me get a tissue and then we'll begin, Rabbi Isai. All right, I think I'm ready to begin. Let's see what's going on here. We got already a lot of guys. What do you say, Danny? Ready to roll?
You're ready. It's 50 guys.
I think we need that guy from Slunim back, no? Where's this? We got to get all this chevra, you know? We have to at least get pictures of them so I can put them up in the back, no? It's that guy. All right. Everyone say Mazel Tov to Rabbi Wiener. Slonim. I miss you, Slonim. All right. Ready to roll?
Let's go.
3, 2, 1. Everybody hears me? Even Jack Runhout. You hear me also, right, Jack? Don't worry, I remember your Jewish name, but they don't know it, so I'll go with Jack. Say hi to Shimon Birnbaum. He's here also somewhere. Yeah. He's here somewhere. I know we just lost him. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Rabbi Isai. First of all, I'd like to explain one thing from yesterday's shir. That should I explain it to them or no? Should I explain to them the thing from yesterday's shir? No. Yeah. I want to just explain one thing from yesterday's shir. I was asked to explain again what was my question that I held it with a sveik sveika. And my answer, the Olam understood, but what was my question that it's a sveik sveika? I just want to explain this because it is a big side, Rabbi Isai. There are 2 sveikas over here. Every single time we're dealing with a pot cover, a lid that was taken off, and we do not know if the food is fully cooked. Every time we have 2 sveik, or if I take off cholent and I don't know if it's fully cooked, we're always dealing with 2 sveikas here. And I want to explain this because yesterday I was asked a question that it's one suffix. And yesterday I said an answer, which is a true answer, that it's considered one is a suffix in din and one is considered a suffix in Metzias. One is a suffix in Tzveika Dedina and one is a suffix in Metzias, which both of them do connect together to be considered as fake sveika. But I'd like to explain that there's a much simpler way of explaining why I held this was a fake sveika, lulei the teretz that we said. Because Rabbi Isai, what is the shaila? This is so important for the understanding of the sugya. Do we have one shaila here? Is it Metzias? Is this food fully cooked? That's one shaila. Then there's a whole separate shaila, Rabbi Isai. Even if it's not fully cooked, but maybe being not fully cooked is enough in halacha klape Hilchos Bishul. In other words, it's not the pshat that the Rashba says that when something is Michael ben Yusai, when something is half cooked, that's called fully cooked. What the Rashba says is, I admit it's not fully cooked, but I don't care. That's not considered a chashiva result if I take something from half cooked and make it to fully cooked. He was not arguing on Metzias and saying you should all start eating things that are half cooked. He agrees that eating half-cooked things is not the norm. And of course, eating half-cooked things are eating half-cooked things. He just holds that klape Hilchos Bishul, when something is half-cooked, that is enough klape the tikkun of Bishul to be called now in the gather of Ein Bishul Achar Bishul. You're not doing a chashav result. A chashav result is getting something from, we'll say, 0 to 50%. But getting from 50% to 100%, the Rashba and those Rishonim held, is not considered a chashav result. He agrees, though, that b'metzias, of course, there's more to go. So therefore, that's a sfeika. Suffix number one is that maybe it's taka fully cooked. Suffix number two is even if it's not fully cooked, but the Rashba will tell you, who cares? Maybe not being fully cooked in Hilchos Bishul is considered enough of a tikkun that adding on to that is not considered that you did something that has a value. That's why I asked yesterday, every time I want to return a cholent pot that I have a suffix if it's fully cooked, I said yesterday it's a sveika. First of all, maybe it is fully cooked. And suffix number two is even if it's not, who cares? Maybe Allah, that's enough. Yesterday, we said an answer that maybe it's a suffix shaitim, and that answer we did not go with because it is a good suffix. To not know if something is fully cooked is probably a pretty valid suffix. And then afterward, Chacham Victor wanted to say a different teretz that anything that the Shulchan Aruch paskins and that the Ramah paskins and that the Goyim paskins, so then in that level already, it's considered a kepaskin, the halacha, and we don't look at it as a sveika. I must tell you, Rabbi Isai, that is a big chiddush. You should just know that's a very big chiddush, especially when the Bir Halacha brings here a Rashba, a Ramban, a Ran, a Meiri, Mamish, the Rosh. That is all the gamut of the Paiskim. The Beis Yosef brings all these Paiskim. To say that it doesn't even mitzaref itself to a sveika is a big chiddush. And like Yudit Rashbesh is asking right now, there's no shaila that if there would be a knas, we're not going to make a knas based on those rishonim. So you see, we do misyachis with those rishonim enough to not make a knas. Now, I admit that's not exactly such a raya, because since we're not going to make a knas on something that the Rashba, Ramban did, we're not going to make a knas if you b'di evet did it, since the Rashba would even go and do it lechatchila. But that doesn't necessarily make a sveika to allow us to go and do something lechatchila. I must tell you, Rabbi say, if somebody has a better teretz, I would prefer it. Somebody has a better teretz, I'll even probably pay money for it. If you have a good teretz, I'll pay for it. Yeah. How much will I give? I give $20, but it's got to be car keys. Nah, $20. But I give $20 if anybody has a better teretz. But in the meantime, we'll go with that teretz. In that teretz. So Lemaisa, that's number one. Number two is Rabbi Isai, that somebody called me yesterday and told me he has a nice story that happened. I mean, not such a nice story. It was actually not a nice story, but he has a story. Rabbi Slansky, when did you put this shear up? What time did this shear go up?
Don't know.
No, he's not writing me. Baruch. So anyways, don't know, because this guy must have called me about a minute after it went up to tell me this story. He told me that late last night. Okay, so this guy must have called me. We started late last night. Maybe not. This person called me and told me a story like this. He told me that 2 weeks ago, 2 Friday nights ago, he put on a cholent on Friday night, like he always does. It was after Pesach. So since he cleaned out his crack pot, he didn't have a blech inside the crack pot. In other words, it was inside the crack pot. He didn't have a blech inside the crack pot. Why? Because he had cleaned out his crack pot, on Erev Pesach. It was like right after Pesach, and he had cleaned out his crack pot right after, right before Pesach. And it was all clean. So you know how it is. Usually you have a blech inside the crack pot and just leave it there from week to week or whatever, which we'll talk about one day. That's a whole shtickle shaila or whatever. But this guy, he had so this guy called me mamish at about 12:30, which just shows you that, mamish, the second after the shear, this guy already was called. So he had a crack pot that always had the silver foil inside of it and, the little upside down beckel in it, whatever, so that it could be used as a blech that he could take cholent off on Friday night and that he could put back. He said it was about 5 minutes before Shkia, and he was davening on his minyan, on his merpeset, on his porch with I don't know if he meant by himself or he meant with other people. And in the middle of the davening, he had came to right at like a few minutes, like 2 minutes right before Shkia, he came to the part of B'Mem Adlikin, where in B'Mem Adlikin you say Toimnim Mesacham, and then he realized, wait a minute, I don't have a blech. Because usually when you have your mahalach of your blech and everything, so then everything is fine. But over here, he had put this cholent for the first time. It was right after Pesach, and now it's in a clean cholent pot. So he didn't have a blech, and he realized that they just put the cholent in without making a blech. So it was about like a minute or two before Shkia when he realized this. So he ran into the dira, and he asked his wife, "Did you put on a blech on the crack pot?" So she said, "No, she didn't put a blech on the crack pot." So he quickly ran over, and he had about a minute to go to Shkia, and he ripped a piece of silver foil, which is not so simple. As you're seeing, Rabbi Rosenberg says over here that he already said Mizmor Shir, and if he's already up to B'Mem Adlikin, and also a minute before Shkia, Rabbi say, very not pashut. You have to have Tosefes Shabbos and whatnot. Okay, but about a minute before Shkia, he started ripping away the silver foil. So he said he got it in. Oh, Baruch Hashem, Mamish, B'Simcha Rabba. He took the silver foil, and he put it inside the crack pot, and he made a little silver foil balls and threw them in there, right? And Baruch Hashem, he managed to do that before Shkia. Okay? Then, now the cholent pot was out. Now you have to put the cholent back in. So he told me that he put the cholent back in for sure after Shkia, about a minute after Shkia, he put the cholent pot in, right? But the silver foil, he was convinced that, listen, as long as I make the cholent pot before, as long as I make, the blech before Shabbos, so then I'm in business, I'm okay. So, but Maise, after hearing the shir, he realized that l'chayra, he did a dreadful, dreadful disaster, because l'chayra, this cholent was not fully cooked. He said that there's no way that he could say with the brewers that cholent was fully cooked. He said he put the cholent on about 4 hours before, and it's in a crack pot, 4 hours before in a crack pot. Each probably person's crack pot is their own crack pot. He said it's probably edible, but there's no way that the potatoes were fully cooked and that the barley was fully cooked and all these things were fully cooked. There's no way. He said, but his brain was thinking, Ben Hashmashis, you're allowed to put back the cholent pot. But he wasn't thinking that, that's only klape if it's fully cooked and things like that, and chazara issues and whatever. But he says, but here he has a cholent, which is 60% cooked, and now he puts it on. So what would be the din? The din would be, so he wanted to know what he did wrong and what he should do in the future and whatever. This is the case. A Jew knocks on your door on Friday night, and he says to you, it's 1 minute after Shkia, and I don't have a blech on my cholent pot. So what would you say based on what we said yesterday? So first of all, is he allowed to put that cholent pot back on? The answer is 100% usher. 100% usher. So he knocks on your door and he tells you, okay, I did it. What's the Aruch HaShulchan going to help Rabbi Spira? The Aruch HaShulchan can't matter agunas. What does he want from me, Rabbi Spira? He's going a little incognito today. What's going on over here? Story with Rabbi Scheinberg. How's that going to help over here? How's that help over here? Well, let's hold off on the story of Rabbi Scheinberg. Just one moment. But Al Kapanim, not sure. I love you, Davi. Al Kapanim, let's go slowly. This Jew comes, he knocks on my door, and he says to me, I just put the cholent. He feels guilty. Let's say he would come to me on Shabbos. I feel guilty. I want to know, am I allowed to eat this cholent? You tell him what? You put the cholent pad on. You went from 60% cooked to 100% cooked. That's an Iyar. That's an Iyar. So he's going to ask me, what do I do? Am I allowed to eat the cholent? What's the first thing I'm going to tell him? I'll wait to see. So Rabbi Plotziger says yes. Would I give $20 for somebody to say yes to a question that everybody here is going to say yes? Mutter. ML says mutter. Fishy says, Rashba, am I giving $20 for something that I said 2 minutes ago? You know what I'm telling you, Rabbi? Whoever gets it gets $20. This is a Jefferson, I think. No? Jefferson? Yeah, Jefferson. Right? Oh, sir. Spider, I'll throw you out of here. You owe me $20. What are you smiling about, Jack? What's the answer? No? Boisai. What am I telling him? You know what I'm telling him? I'm telling him, run home as fast as you can and take off the cholent. Because every single second, it's cooking, Rabbi Isai. Every single second is as a result of his original Maisa. Rabbi said he put it on. He went from 60% to 63%. Okay, I don't know if that's usher, but maybe going from 63% to 75% is usher as we get closer and closer. So for sure, I'm telling him before we start questions, you're not having cholent, tough guy. Run home and take it off because you for sure over an isser, and at least now you can go and take it off. And that's the first thing that you tell such a Jew. Everybody understands? Thumbs up if you understand. Thumbs up, right? Thumbs down, you're out of here. What's the problem, Rabbi Greenhouse? What don't you understand? Rabbi Greenhouse, thumbs up? What's the problem? I also want cholent. Thumbs up. That's right. Everybody, right? Rabbi Elbas, Clar, yeah? You know who says it? The Orlet Sion. That's right, even though his picture's not gracing your background, but that's right. The Orlet Sion also says that like this. First thing is that you got to get the cholent off because every single second you're causing it to cook as a result of your original maisa. Right? It doesn't matter how much it cooked, Rabbi Greenhoff. The second you put it on, it's as a result of your maisa that now it's cooking. So the first and foremost thing you have to do is take it off. That's aleph. Is that clear by Fiscus or not? Crystal clear. Clear. Okay, that's it. So Kallus gets the $20. All right. Akopanim, that's number one. But number two is that now he asks me, let's say he comes to me, if he was smart and he waited about 2 hours into Shabbos and now he's feeling guilty. 2 hours later, he feels guilty. Now he's going to ask me, can I eat that cholent? So we're going to tell him, okay, look, it's, it is a rashba that's makel. We'll tell him, look, the rashba is makel. So b'diavad, we're not going to say that if you're over on a chil Shabbos, that the rashba himself would do it. No, it's nish kefarlich. Right? And Rabbi Slansky says there's a goyin that if you did things b'shoigeg, but that goyin b'shoigeg isn't enough because goyin b'shoigeg is only makel on a situation of where you have, for example, no other food or something like that. Not so pashut. If the guy has other food who says that we're going to be makel, it's not exactly so 100% pashut. What should this guy have done? Let's think what he should have done. What he should have done is he should have waited till it got fully cooked on Shabbos. And then what? Now it's fully cooked. What would happen if he would come to me a minute before Shkia, a minute after Shkia, and tell me, my cholent, I forgot to put a blech. So what should I do? I would tell him, don't touch your cholent now. Wait till it's fully cooked. At 11 o'clock at night, you want to have your cholent. No problem. But then it'll be fully cooked. Now you'll take it off. And now you'll make the blech. Okay, so that already, obviously you can't rip silver foil on Shabbos, but he'll find some kind of an eitzah or something like that. But you're allowed to make a blech on Shabbos. And that's one name, it's a Shem. We'll talk about, obviously, you're going to have to do something to get the cholent pot to stick out a little bit or something like that. I'll go upon him. You'll find an eitzah. But the point is that what he should have done is he should have waited till Shabbos, till it was fully cooked, take it off, and then put it on top of a hot plate. Or then the kids are to either put it onto a different blech or make the blech on Shabbos. But certainly do it afterward. Rabbi Rosenberg is saying parchment paper. I just get nervous with paper. So if you know that's good, yeah. If not, I don't know. But Al Kapanim, that's number one, right? So he's asking, how are you allowed to leave the food on the hot plate if it didn't have a blech? But the halacha is that once food is Michael ben Drusai, then you are allowed to leave it on an unbleched fire. So that is a Shem, that we'll talk about when we get there. That's a chayr. Now there is another cheshbon over here, Rabbi Yisai. There's one other cheshbon over here. Is l'chayr, what could he have done? Is there any? There's another cheshbon here. Why b'diavad we'd be makel? Another cheshbon is that l'chayra, is there a knas during Ben Hashmoshes? Do we answer somebody who did a Ma'aseh Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes? Do we answer? Is there a knas when a person did something during Ben Hashmoshes? So this is quite interesting. The Mishabura and Simon Reish Samach Aleph, he brings down that there is a knas. There is a knas. If you do something during Ben Hashmoshes, since it's also to do things on it's also to do Melech Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes, we suffix, so it's suffix derais l'chumra, and we answer even b'diavad. If a person went and let's say cooked on Ben Hashmoshes, we do answer b'diavad. However, the Bir Lacha and Reish Samach Aleph says, like I'm seeing from Rabbi Balzim, that what if you're in a time when it's Ben Hashmoshes according to one shita, but according to one shita it's mutter gomer. Like Rabbeinu Tam, according to Rabbeinu Tam, it's not even Ben Hashmoshes yet, right? So then it could be that we don't make a knas, right? we're not going to make a knas until the time when it's Ben Hashmash. And that's always a shot like Rabbi Brownstein's asking, does that mean there are no knases until 58 and a half minutes? Or does that mean that in each country you have to figure out what's the Rabbeinu Tam and whatever? That's a little bit of a shiloh, which I prefer not to go into right now. It's a Shem. When we learn the Sukkah of Ma'aseh Shabbos, we'll go more into it. But again, so first of all, if this person came to me 3 hours into Shabbos, then what are we going to tell him? We're going to tell him that b'diavad he can eat his chalent. Why? Number 1, shoygeg. Number 2, the rashba. Number 3, because it's the first minute of Ben Hashmash. So b'diavad we're going to let him eat this chalent, and we don't need to be seimich on the goy. That's number 1. Number 2 is if he asks me, can I do it? We're going to tell him, not only can't you do it, you cannot do it, but if you actually did it, we're going to run and tell him, go home, miyad, and take off, miyad, the chalent, because it's cooking kol rega v'rega as a result of what you did. That's number 2. Number 3 is what we're going to tell him to do is just leave your chalent on the crock pot. And if you leave it on, wait till it's fully cooked. And then on Shabbos, later on, you'll make the blech. When it comes to Negea later on, that's when you'll be allowed to make the blech later on in Shabbos. Obviously, you can't rip silver foil, but that's the chayra, what you should do. That's the chayra. Do you have to have a blech? No, the bowl is not enough. You have to have a blech because it must cover the fire. So that the mitzvah Shem, when we learn about blechs, we'll see more about that. Now, Rabbi say, what about a guy? Could he ask a guy? Let's say he took it off. Let's say he realized this a minute after Shkia. And now he realizes, wait, I can't pass. I'm not allowed now to go and put this chalent pack on because it's going to go from 50% cooked to 100% cooked, which is usher for me. Is he allowed to get a guy to do this during Ben Hashmashes? What's the answer, Rabbi say? During Ben Hashmashes, is he allowed to get a guy? Yes or no? Right? So Rabbi Platzker says it's Bishul Akum. The answer is it's certainly not Bishul Akum. Why is it not Bishul Akum? Because we said it's already a half cooked. So once it's already cooked, Michael ben Drisai Oid, who turned on the crock pot, the Jew turned on the crock pot. So for an Ashkenazi, it's not going to be a problem of Bishul Akum, and even for a Sephardi, not, because it's already going to be half cooked. Once it's half cooked, there's not going to be a problem Bishul Akum. So the best thing in this situation is, like Rabbi Dakin said, that we should go and get a goy in this case, and a goy would be allowed. The other way is very interesting. That you have to know. Let's say on Erev Shabbos, this is a good case that people taka forget. Let's say on Erev Shabbos, a person, a lot of times, the crack pot is plugged in, everything is set to go, it's a raw chalent, and just forgot to turn it on. All right, and then you realize on Shabbos, Gewalt, I forgot to turn it on. Could you go and get a guy to turn on the chalent? It's Ben Hashmashes, we let a guy even do deraises. A guy is allowed to do a deraisa even on Ben Hashmashes. A guy is allowed to do even on Ben Hashmashes. So you're going to be allowed to get a guy on Ben Hashmashes to do deraisa of turning on your chalent pot? The answer is absolutely not. Because now, what's the guy going to be doing? It's true he's doing the Raisa, which is Mutter Ben Hashmashes, and mitzad the Amir La'akum, it's not a problem. But we have a problem over here of Bishul Akum. What's the problem of the Bishul Akum? The problem is that you're taking something raw. My case was that it was raw. So Steinberg was makel in a case one time to this, because he held there was an Aruch HaShulchan, which I guess that's what Duvi was referring to before, that once you put everything into its place and all the guy is doing is turning on the oven, so then that might not be a problem of Bishul Akum. Over here, I put the pot in its place and I did everything. I plugged it in, and all I didn't do is I didn't turn on the switch. So first of all, this is not something that l'chayra one could do l'chatchila. It's l'chayra a very, very big kula. It's a very, very big kula. And also, I'm a little bit mesupik if it's doime to the case of the Aruch HaShulchan. So, you know what? I'm going to read the Aruch HaShulchan to the Oilam, but my Aruch HaShulchan's over there. Bli neder. I'll write it down. We'll come back to the Aruch HaShulchan. Remind me tomorrow. I'll talk about the Aruch HaShulchan in a more Mesidic Oifen, but l'chayr l'chatchila, certainly it's not a hanhag l'chatchila. L'chayr, it's a problem of Bishul Akum. Right? I see you guys all listen to me when I speak. I see everybody here remembers that I said over the story from Reb Steinberg. But then recently, again, I had to give a shiur in Bishul Akum, and I was a little bit bothered by the Zushtal to the Aruch HaShulchan. Should I tell you what's bothering me, or should I just? I'm not sure. What should I do? I see. I can't tell you guys stories. Yeah, this is. I was bothered then also, but the Rebbe. I was bothered then also, but the Rebbe. Steinberg. Okay, certainly, if somebody did it, then maybe I'd be makel with the Evid. But okay, Bez Hashem, everybody's like, let's come back to that story. It's an interesting shaila. Right? It's interesting shaila. Al Kapanim, that's number one. That's good. So now everybody say, let's go, Rabbi say, to the Ikar Sugya. Now that we have the Klolim, everybody say, you saw already the sheets of the Yitzchak, and you saw that you need a little bit over here give us a background over here. You all know already, I hope, basically what's a Kli Rishon. A Kli Rishon is we'll call like the urn. That's the fire cooking the water. That's the Kli Rishon. Even when you take a Kli Rishon off of the fire, if you take the Kli Rishon off, it still has the ability to cook. Kolzman, it's Yad Saledis by. What is Yad Saledis by? Obviously, is a big fight. And that in Mitzvah Shem, we're going to have a whole shir on. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow, maybe. And that Mitzvah Shem, we have to discuss what's Yad Saledis by. Then when you pour out of the Kli Rishon, or when you pump down from your urn, that's an Iroi Kli Rishon. That's water coming out of the Kli Rishon. That's a fight, how much it cooks. We take on that it does mevashel. It could certainly be bishul deraisa on tea leaves, v'chadoyim and mitzvah Shem. All these things we're going to come back to. Now the first cup that's all out of the urn, or what it was poured into, that's called the Kli Sheni. The halach of a Kli Sheni is that in the Gemara it says a Kli Sheni is not mevashel. On the other hand, we find things that Kli Sheni could be mevashel. So we know if you take a piece of meat and put it inside a Kli Sheni, it's not going to be mevashel. On the other hand, the Gemara says there are certain things which are kale bishul, easily cooked things, and those things, a Kli Sheni is yes mevashel. So we know for sure water, oil, that the Gemara says mefurish, water doesn't cook in a Kli Sheni. So we know you can take water and add it to your hot cup. We'll see. It's not so pashut because there might be something so hot like Yad Nichves that even that could cook, but that's only the first few seconds of the life of the Kli Sheni. And if I'm going too fast or by side, don't worry. All these things we're going to talk about again. I'm just doing this in order to give a little bit of a background, a little bit, the mashu of a background. But that's number one. A Kli Sheni, the Gemara says, is not mevashel. On the other hand, the Gemara says a Kli Sheni on the Kale Bishul is yes mevashel. So what do? We know water and oil, it's not mevashel. We know meat, it's not mevashel. But we know that there are certain spices and things that's yeah mevashel. So some Rishonim said, okay, so then we don't know. So then we have to assume everything is mevashel. How could I take a chance? I have to assume that everything is mevashel. And that's why on a Kli Sheni, we're going to see that we have chashis about a Kli Sheni. On the other hand, we'll see it's very not pashut which things and certain things we will be making on a Kli Sheni. There's another aspect of Kli Sheni that Tosfos talks about, that the Mishnah Berurah talks about over here, that maybe if you put something into a Kli Sheni, there might be a mechzik and mevachel, even if it's not called real cooking. It might look like cooking. Mitzvah Shem, we'll get there. A Kli Shlishi is avada much more of a reason to be makel, and all these things we shall come back to. There's another concept that you need to know over here is Ein bishul achar bishul b'davar yavesh. That's our sif. Once something is cooked, baked, so then if something is cooked and you cook it again, I take a chicken that was, I'll give you a good example, lakshin. Lakshin was cooked inside the pot. It was cooked in a Kli Rishon, boiling hot lakshin. It was cooked legamre. Now I want to take this lakshin and I want to put it into my soup pot. I want to put it into my soup pot. It's boiling hot lakshin. I want to put it in my soup pot, not the pot that was poured out. It's the Kli Rishon. Kli Rishon's mevashel. Yes, Kli Rishon's mevashel, but ein bishul achar bishul. So this lakshin was once cooked, and therefore, let's call it dry lakshin. This shilas I don't want to get involved in right now. Dry lakshin that was previously cooked. You put it now into the Kli Rishon, and if you put dry lakshin into Kli Rishon, ein bishul achar bishul. Mashenke. And what then? If I take a schnitzel that was baked or whatever, potato cook is baked, and now I put it into a place where it gets boiling hot. Ein afia achar afia. Now there's going to be a shaila. What about bishul achar afia? Afia achar bishul. Mitzvah Shem. All that we're going to talk about. That's the chayra. A little bit of akdama. Now we're going to go into a very, very gishmak shaila, which is so gishmak by side. Why is it so gishmak? Is because it happened to me this Friday night. And every shaila that happens to you on Friday night is so gishmak. You'll enjoy it so much more. Now, the truth is, it probably happened to a lot of us, and it might have even happened to a lot of us Friday night, but we might not have known that there's a shaila. So come into my life, Rabbi Isai, come into my personal life, and look what happened to me this Friday night at 11 o'clock at night, Israel time. You're listening, Rabbi Gerber. You got to hear these meisim. This is what's going to make you love cholent. Friday night, my wife said, go check the cholent. I'm not sure if I put enough water in. Those are the magic words. Right? Today we're going to talk about what happens if chas v'shalom, my cholent is burning out. What do you do? What are you allowed to do? The one thing we know that you're not allowed to do, and people have made this mistake because, not everybody knows Hilchos Shabbos. Not everybody knows Hilchos Bishul. The cholent's burning out. I have a blech. So I know that I can't take off a cholent pot, and then unless I have a blech to put it back onto. And I also know that my cholent here is fully cooked, because if it's burning out, it's probably fully cooked, everybody say. But what I don't know is that I can't go to the sink and put cold water into the cholent, or even, warm water into the cholent. That water is not previously cooked, and that is bishul deraisa, according to all of the poskim that ever lived and ever should live. I know someone who actually made this mistake. Why is it that somebody would make this mistake? The person told me, he told me that before he got married, right? So he went and he learned, Shmir Shabbos Hilchos, the first couple of prakim. I see I'm hearing here, a lot of people seem to make this mistake. He learned the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos, the first couple of prakim. No, so what happened? He says he reads in the Shmir Shabbos. It's not the Shmir Shabbos' fault. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying where the mistake could come from, right? It's totally not. I read afterward. The Shmir Shabbos clearly tells you that you would have to be a real goyim to make this mistake after reading the Shmir Shabbos. But I just want to show you what exactly happened over here. He said the Shmir Shabbos tells me I need 5 t'nayim. I need to have that my cholent is fully cooked. I need to have daitel achzor. I need to have a blech, right? Everything is fabulous, right? And it also tells me that there's a whole shaila about my urn, that the urn maybe is going to become fleishiks if I take my cholent over to the urn. So this rocket scientist put this all together, and he said, hey, wait a minute, right? My urn is going to be a whole shaila, and then tomorrow morning when I'm going to have my coffee, so then I'm going to go and it's going to have fleishik blias in it, and I won't be able to have milk. What's going to be? So I have a better idea. I'll just go over to the fleishik sink, right? And my fleishik sink, the faucet's already fleishiks. And I'll just pour the water straight in, and look, I have everything. It's mevushal called sarcha, it's daitel lachzor. I have a blech, there's probably a migu also, and shalom Yisrael, the cholent is fully cooked, and everything is great, right? Everything is fabulous. The only thing is, Rabbi Isai, is that there's one major problem here. He's cooking the water, right? He's taking something that was never cooked, and he's making it cooked. So that, before we begin, is never. Number one example of what you're never allowed to do. Number two example of what you're never allowed to do. I take water, Erev Shabbos. I took it from, I don't want to have an urn going. Some people, they're afraid of these urns. They're hot, they're big, they're scary. So he has a big thermos. He takes that boiling hot water, puts it into this massive thermos, and now he has hot water on Shabbos, and he knows no problems. Givaldic hot water. I know you can't. This water was previously cooked. Everything's fine. It's not cold water. I'm going back to a blech. I'm taking it there. The cholent is fully cooked. Everything's givaldic. And this is my thermos. I have a milchik thermos and a fleishik thermos. So this is great. I'll just take the thermos and pour it straight in. Fabulous. I make a thermos just for the purpose of the cholent. Everything's fabulous. What's the problem? One major problem. The problem is, Rabbi Isai, is that is called nesina lichatchila. You have to be coming from a fire on Shabbos in order to go to a covered fire on Shabbos. So if I take the cholent off, which was on a fire, I could do chazara. I could return it to a fire. But if you weren't on a fire as when Shabbos came in, you tough guy weren't on a fire. This hot water is in a thermos. So that's called the Lashon Gemara. That's all gabe karka. So now you're not over on a deraisa, but you certainly are over on an isser of chazara. Those are the two things that you must never, ever do. Never do. Is that crystal clear before I go weiter? That's not even our sugya. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's clear. Is that clear, boy? Right? Clear. Rabbi Danziger, what did you have, a girl or a boy? A girl? Girl. Okay, I was going to say, this is the first thing you have to teach your daughter. Your son, you can teach him first, Maidani and whatever, Arashba, Baba Kama, the Shoshanaga, but this is the first thing that you teach your daughter, right? You go over there, you tell her, the water has to be coming from a fire. The water can't be coming from the sink. The water certainly can't be coming from a thermos. I don't know why, but I do know why. But people make these mistakes. Hakam, that in a shir of this nature for the Talmidei Chachamim, it's a little bit, to go and tell the Talmidei Chachamim this, it's a little bit niche. It's not negeya. But you have to tell this to people. You would be so surprised how many people make this mistake. And now you know never to make that mistake. That's number one. What we're going to don is, so I knew that. So I come down, I say, Oy, she's right. The cholent doesn't look like she's going to make it. So now I had a big child. I have an urn. So wait, Gavaldik, I'll just take the water from the urn. It's fire, it's hot, it's everything. The water's hot. The water is great. I'll take that hot water. It's on a fire right now because the urn is considered a fire. There's a red hot coil on the bottom of my urn, and I'll take it and I'll put it into my, I'll take my cholent off, so it's not a problem of agasa. I'll put it into my cholent and I'll put it there. How we're going to do that? Are we going to use a cup from the urn and then pour in, or are we going to go straight to the urn? We'll talk about what the shaila is in Yad Hashem, but it's doable. The problem is, I'm going to tell you now, Rabbi Isai, one of the most gishmakish shailas in all of Hilchos Bishul. Rabbi Isai, if you don't enjoy this shaila, you really have to check your yichus. You really do. There might be an issue. Listen, what should I tell you? What should I tell you? What should I tell you? Is Rabbi Isai, water going from Michael Ben Drisai, whatever that is, Yad Saletis by water. Let's start over. What is mavushal called tzarchai when it comes to water? Is mavushal called tzarchai when it comes to water? What is called fully cooked? Till now, we've been discussing food. What's called fully cooked when you're dealing with food? And I told you I'm a little bit mesupik, I must admit. I'm still a little bit mesupik. Rabbi side, if you have a soft-boiled egg, is that called fully cooked? You know, in the yeshivas, they give them out and people actually eat them. An American Yankee like me comes to yeshiva the first day. I saw people eating this. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it. Unbelievable. Did you ever see this? They have these soft-boiled eggs, and there's that guy, he's like the expert. He has like a little egg tray, and he knocks off the top, a little scalp dirt, and right? No, it's not like a sunny side up. Come on, Schlitzelfeld. Go to a tough. Not like a sunny side up. Yummy. Right? You remember that soft-boiled egg Rabbi side? I saw it the first time. The whole thing to me is like one big salmonella, fragnished, right? But that's what they do. What can I tell you? But some of the Israelis, they'll knock you out for this thing, right? So I want to know, what's the lumdus of a soft-boiled egg? What's the lumdus? Is the lumdus of a soft-boiled egg that's called mavushal called sarchai, because most people eat it. Let's say, I don't know yet if these are the rules, but I think certainly in Israel, most people eat soft-boiled eggs. Roiv people eat it, and they say it's not nechol b'shas atchak. So what's the lumdus? Is it the pshat that fellow eats a soft-boiled egg because he says, I want to eat something which is not a fully cooked egg? I like my egg when it's not fully cooked. That's good for the lumdus. Or no, the fact that most people eat it when it's nechol, it's basically the same rare steak shiloh, right? But it's the same shiloh. I'm very, very mesupik, right? Dr. Fauci says the first way. Ben Zion says it's popular in BMG. The American yeshivas eat it ganz fine, sagt doch Nissi. Ganz fine. Die Menschen können das essen. Einer es a Team mit Sachs. Ich meine, mit Sachen, it kann das essen, sicher geht. You know, what's the Misa? UK, it's popular. It's not a riot after the Tea Party incident, right? I also did it in my time in BMG. Okay, so I'm glad to see that everybody here understands. Would most people agree that it's Roiv people eat it? Roiv people eat it, right? Roiv people eat it. When Roiv people eat it, what's the lumdus? Roiv people that eat it, they're eating it b'shat atchak? No, right? Roiv people that are eating it, they're saying that it's considered a dover. This is what I'm not clear about, Rabbi Isai. What do the goyish cookbooks say? I know it sounds funny to go to find a loch in a goyish cookbook, right? But if a goyish cookbook considers this to be not cooked, you know, that's maybe these inyanim are totally in the way that people are mesiachis to it, right? Well, what is the way that people are mesiachis to it? Maybe people are mesiachis to it that I want something. So I must tell you, I'm not totally clear about this. I must tell you that someone told me who listens to our shiurim that he asked this question to Shlomo Zalman, and he said, Shlomo Zalman, the smartest man in the world, he said he was mamish mesupik. He wasn't sure, mamish this shaila. He wasn't talking about a rare steak like we were talking about. He was talking about soft-boiled eggs, and this is a very important conversation if it ever happened, because a soft-boiled egg is a part of Israeli society. Das is chumus, Rabbi Isai. It's a part of the society, right? What goes on in Belgium over there? They eat soft-boiled eggs. They eat soft-boiled eggs. Yeah. Do this. You can see it all over your face. I just didn't want to say it. But it's clear that the people that eat it, roiv people. So I'm not sure how to done this. Is it the lumdis that we look at roiv? Is it the lumdis that we look at those people? They don't consider it to be nechel b'shas chag. It's very not so pashut to me. Rishon Zalman was misupik, and I'm not sure. I must admit, I'm not so sure. But and Amit Hashem, I still plan on working on this. I sent the Shaila Grada 2 days ago to Chaim Kanievsky through a shliach who goes to him on Tuesdays. What's today? Today's Monday. Okay, so by tomorrow we should get the Mitzvah Shem Teretz. I sent it on Mitzvah Shabbos, and hopefully by tomorrow we should have what Chaim Kanievsky says about it. Right? Maybe I should offer Reb Chaim $20 if he has a good answer. Okay, we'll see. Balkapanim, the Maisa, it's very interesting, this Shaila. But Rabbi say, at least we have another Shaila, which the Poiskim danned on, and is very, very not clear. So it's even more geschmack. And that is water. Herzechain Yingala. Nissi Zakind. Du verstehst in Wasser, was heißt in ganzen gekocht? Was heißt in ganzen gekocht? A Sach, was Tage is Yatzel Lettuce Boy. Das heißt in ganzen gekocht. It's Yatzel Lettuce Boy. That's called Mavushal called Tzarchai? Or no? In order by water to be Mavushal called Tzarchai, as darf man haben Tage 100 degrees Celsius to 12 Fahrenheit. Was is considered Mavushal called Tzarchai? So you think, what's the difference? Oh, Rabbi Isai. Just like we saw that the Rashba says, if you go from Michael ben Drusoi all the way up to Mavushal called Sarchai, it's Mutter Gomer. So for sure, according to the Rashba, there's not going to be a Shaila. But we pass in La Locha, the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, the Goyin, the Mishnah Berurah, all the Paiskim, the Magen Avram. We pass in La Locha that if you go from 50% upward or 33% upward all the way to 100%, that's also called cooking, so long as it's not mitztamik v'yafalai. To go from 50% up to 100% is also called cooking. So now this is a very serious shaila. If we consider yad soledis by, once you hit whatever, we all know there's a big fight, yad soledis by 160, 170, according to some sheets it's 110. We'll see all that. But whatever it is, 160, let's say, okay? To go from 160 to 212, according to the Rashba, for sure, mutter. What is the lacha according to the Shulchan Aruch? If I go from 160, do we say that Yad Saledis Boy is considered Michael ben Drusai, and to go from 160 up to 212, or Celsius is probably about 70, 80, but we're going to talk about Yad Saledis Boy. Don't get involved now in the actual shear. Get involved in the concept. If I go from Yad Saledis Boy up to Mavushal called Sorkai, dying from 160 to 212 to bubbling, is that called that I did cooking? What's enough, Kamina? So many shilas, Rabbi Isai. First of all, my shaila, Rabbi Isai, those regular pumpy urns that you buy, Micha and Lakewood, they have those pumpy urns also. You know, the I call them the Shabbos urn, but those pumpy ones, you know, the ones that you pump down. They have those in Lakewood. You, Micha, they have them. They have them. Do you know how hot that one gets? Do you know how hot it gets? It doesn't get more than 185. And if it gets to 190, it's probably broken. If it gets to 185, it's for sure broken. But those urns, they only get to 185 degrees. They don't get to 212. Right? So, and even though you see like right before boil, you see like a couple of bubbles, but it's not bubbling. It's not 212. And they write it on the paper I'm the guy that reads the paper on the inside of the box, Rabbi Isai. Okay, so these urns, and not only that, do you have those instant hots? The fancy people over here in America. What's going on there, Rabbi Zaltzer? The fancy chevra in America, they have those instant hots at the sink over there. You know how hot that gets? So I asked my friends and family, Rabbi Elbaz, you know how hot it gets? It gets to 190 degrees, very hot. Yes, I also would not like to have a shower in it, Rabbi Isai. But it does not get to 212. What's enough gemina kinderlach? Enough gemina? No, I don't mean instant hot on Shabbos. I'm just trying to bring out a point. Right? Avadi can't use it on Shabbos because electricity. I'm just saying. But the urn only gets to 185. So am I allowed to take the water out of the urn and go and put it in the cholent? Hooray, now it's going to get to 212. I say, this is a very big shaila. This is a great shaila. You don't like the shaila? Everybody say you like the shaila? Yeah. Do you realize that Goyim wouldn't care about this shaila? So I came to my cholent, and there I was, and I realized this about my urn. I realized about my Gewalt, right? Gewalt. Now, usually I just put enough water in before Shabbos. I don't have this problem, right? Spunk, this Shabbos, right? We used a different type of a crack pot. We have a small crack pot and a big crack pot. And this Shabbos, we used the big crack pot. So now that's why we had the Shaila. No. If it's 185, it's not good, Jack, because you're going from 185 to up to 212, because the cholent on the blech is going to sit and cook in a fire. Of course, it's going to go up from 180. That's our Shaila. Is Yad Saledis by called Mavushal called Sarchai. Once something is 160 in water, since the cooking of water is making it go from cold to hot. So once I hit Yad Saledis by, I went from cold to hot. And whatever is called your Yad Saledis by. Let's say 180, 70, whatever the highest Yad Saledis. I think Ramosha says the highest Yad Saledis is 170 in one place. So let's say I got to 170. Fine. So now my urn got to 185. So maybe that's Yad Saledis by. Maybe that's Mavushal called Sarchai. And maybe going from 185 to 212 is just mitztamik v'yafilay. It's basically not considered doing anything of toyelis. Or no, going from 185 to 212 is like going from Michael ben Drusai. Yad Saledis by is like Michael ben Drusai. And we passing going from Michael ben Drusai up to Mavushal called Sarchai to 212 is called Bishul. And this Rabbi says so many nafkaminas. Should I tell you all the nafkaminas Rabbi say? So many nafkaminas. It's such a big shayla. Rabbi Moyle, this is such a big shayla. Such a big shayla. Rabbi say, should I tell you some of the nafkaminas? Nafkamina number one is that, let's say you have a kettle. A very simple case. You have a kettle. Does anybody have kettles anymore? It's like a thing in the past. You have a kettle. Thank you, Rabbi Herschel. You have a kettle, and the kettle was, let's say, on a place in the blech, which was hot, but not crazy boiling. You know, the kettle is 170. Yeah, it's true. Rabbi Grossman is right. On Pesach, everybody has a kettle, right? So you have a kettle on the blech, and it's 170 degrees. It's boiling, but it's not bubbling. It's not crazy, right? Now, you take the kettle off. Okay, very good. Now, when you take the kettle off, and I'm going to go and put it back, and I'll put it closer to the fire now. On the blech, put it closer to the fire. Wait a minute. Till now, it was 160. Now it's going to go up to 170, whatever. Now it's going to go up to 190, to 212. That's l'chayra, just like taking a food, which is Michael ben Drusai, and going up. So if you learn that, no, by water, once you hit the Yad Saledis by, that is the cooking of water. So then, of course, there's no problem. Who cares if I go to 212? Who cares if I go to 250? Mashenkin, if you learn, no. It's like a solid. And if you go from Michael ben Drusai up to 212, that's a problem. That's one case. Another case is, I saw in Dain Padvin, in the 54th Tshuva, Dain Padva is a murdika shail over there. The shail said to Dain Padva like this. He said, let's say you have an urn, and I'm not getting involved in my urn. Let's say I have an urn that, whatever, the urn gets up to 212. Doesn't matter. Erev Shabbos, the water was in there, and it got up to 180, okay? 185, whatever. Now, it's, ben hashmashis, or it's, it's still cooking higher, right? And you want to take out a cup of water. Why are you taking out a cup of water? Because either for a child, or because, let's say, you want to make a klisheni so that you can put the baby bottle in or something like that or whatever. So you take out a cup of water. So the shoyel told Dayan Padva, that maybe we could say that since over here, what are you doing? You're causing the water to go now and get cooked faster. Kira Bishul. Till now, the water was going to get from 185 to 212. How long is it going to take for it to get from 185 to 212? It would have taken 25 minutes. Now that you took out a cup, it has less to cook. So it's going to take 20 minutes. So that's a Kira Bishul. So the Shoyal over there says that the Shoyal says, well, Lemais, I think it's mutter because it's a grama. He has all types of svaras over there. It says maybe it's a grama and it's a psik resha. I'm not trying to cook the water. So grama, psik resha is mutter. So the Tayin Padva, he writes back to him, grama? What for a grama is that? That's Kira Bishul. I'm not sure why you're calling it grama, he says. He says, Pashit Aser. He says, you say that if it was so Aser, so then the Paiskim should have warned about this. Because it's such a common case. He says, what, the Paiskim have to say every simple thing in the world? This is the most Pashit thing in the world. Anybody knows that he Aser the Bishul. Everybody knows Kira of Bishul's Aser. Everybody has a brain and says that when you take out water, so then that water cooks faster. As I decide, this would be a problem of Bishul. Now, I want to just make one comment. he's not discussing my shiloh. He's discussing water that, let's say, is even at 100 degrees and getting it up to, I'm just using one nakuda that this would be a nafkamina for us. He's not discussing our shiloh of once the water is 185 and now getting it to 212. I'm going to steal his case and say, well, Dayan Padva told us that it would be Kirov. This will be another example where we must know the answer to this shiloh. If I have water that's 160 degrees or something like that, 150 degrees in my urn, and it didn't get cooked before Shabbos, and now I'm going to pump out water, so now it's going to go from 160 to 185 or 180 or 195 or whatever. It's going to happen faster. So then we need to know, do we say that once the water hit a certain lettuce by 170, whatever it is, so then it's cooked the gamra, and then going from 170 to 212 doesn't make a difference, or yeah, or no. This is the grace of Shaila. Another nafkamina Rabbi said, Grady, you should know on that Shaila, there's an Igros Moshe. Igros Moshe in Daled Ayin Daled Chav Gimel, just to show you how much Rav Moshe believed that that's a taka problem. The Igros Moshe talks about that if you have a urn, that the urn has one setting. Say, Dans, do you need a blech? Because there's one setting. Because there's nothing to monkey around with. Because there's no two settings. Say, Dans, some Achrayim say it's a light plug and whatever. But Moshe says the shoyel, I guess that was Rosh Shimon Eider, the shoyel, it's in Daled Ayin Daled Chav Gimel. The shoyel said to Moshe, maybe we'll say a different zera. Because I might take out the water, and when I take out the water inside the urn is going to cook faster. As I said, so then maybe that's why we should aser when the water doesn't have a blech or whatever. So just Mardik Arayt, where Moshe says, he says, Mistaber de yesh lesser. Mistaber yesh lesser. It's right. It's true. You should aser urns, that aren't fully cooked. Taka, that the water's not fully cooked. Mistaber, you should aser. Because taka, it's a very normal thing that somebody might take out. You just see that Rav Moshe held that it's considered a real Maisa Bishul and not just a grandma. And you should know, Rosh Shlomo Zalman, I saw in the Morah Shabbos, he says, no, Rav Moshe doesn't mean a new gzeira. Rav Moshe can't make a new gzeira. He just says Rav Moshe means that it's mistaber that a person should worry about it. But everyone agrees that if you take out water and cause it to cook faster, so then of course that's bishul. Our shaila is to now apply that to our case. Avad, if I did that with water which was 100 degrees and it's going to cook faster, that's bishul deraisa mamish, right? But Rabbi say, but to take, I'm not sure what your head is hurting. You must have something wrong with you, because this is a shaila that all of the poskim, including the Pri Megadim, whose yard site is today, down on. So what's wrong with you? Maybe you should lie down. I'm very nervous about you. But Al Kapanim, the shaila is a boradika shaila. The shaila is, if I take something and go from Yadsa Ledis by up to Mevushal called Sarchai, is that Kunmai going from Michael Ben Drusai up to Mevushal called Sarchai, or no? Do we say that water, once it got hot, whatever Chazal called hot, that's considered the biggest tikkun in the water, and you can't have more tikkun, and everything else is extra, extra, extra? Or do we say no, that even though it got to Yatz Ledis, but there's something miyuchad about Mevushal called Sarchai? This is the grace of Shaila. No, and I bezai this tremendous nafkaminas. Nafkaminas is my challenge. This Friday night, can I get water? And how to do that in Mitzvah Shem, I guess, because I see the time, it's already late. We'll talk about tomorrow. Do we take it straight from the urn? Do we take it with a cup? But just, are you allowed to do it b'chlal? Now, one more thing to make it clear. If the water was at one point cooked to 212 degrees and then went down to 180, 160 or something like that, that's not our shaila. That's for sure mutter, because then the water was once Mevushal called Sarchai, for sure, because it got to 212. And now what? Ein bishul achar bishul, even bedavar lach, if the water's still hot, that's for sure. The only time we say ein bishul achar bishul bedavar lach is if it got cold. We'll see. It's a machlekes Sfardim Ashkenazim about this, but everyone agrees. If my urn does get to 212, let's say your urn gets up to 212, and then afterward it goes down to like 185, then for sure, no, it doesn't really, Rabbi Schlüsselfeld, it doesn't, the pumpy urns, they don't get higher than 185, 190. They don't get to the bubbling. They have a couple of bubbles, but they don't get bubbling. It's not true. They don't get that hot. So therefore, Rabbi said, very important. That for sure is not our shaila. And let's make it clear. If you want to take water from the sink, that's for sure also. if you want to take water from an urn that got to 212 and now got to down to 185 or still got to lettuce by, that's for sure mutter. The truth is, it's mutter even if the water for an Ashkenazi is going to be mutter. Kolzman, the water is warm. If the water at one point was cooked, we say Ein Bishul Achar Bishul, but this is a shaila I'm going to come back to because it's intertribal fights between Sfardim and Ashkenazim, and I prefer to hold off on that. But Rabbi say our shaila is very simple. An urn that only gets up to 185, which Rabbi say is roiv of the urns today. Now, can I take the water from that urn? Number one, can I take out a cup if we're only at 160 and it's going to get up to 185 now? Let's say it's 180, which is for sure past Yatzel lettuce by, it's going to get up to 185. That's one shaila. Another shaila is, can I take a kettle that was at 180 and put it closer to the fire that it'll get to 212? And our shaila, which is the most negayah shaila, is, can I take water from the urn that was at 185 and now it's going to get to the cholent, which is going to get to 212, or is that called going from Michael ben Drusai to Bavashal God Zarcha? That's the shaila. No? So where do you go to look for such a shaila? Mistamin the Shulchan Aruch will say the answer. No. Mistamin the Mishabura will say the answer. No. So I always ask you, why you need Kallus? No. Why you need Kallus? No, it's a good shaila. Now you know, Rabbi Yedagan, why you need Kallus? Everything's in Shulchan Aruch, everything's in the Mishabura. What do you guys need me for? What? You can't find somebody else to give you $20? The $20 isn't even going to help you in England. Over there, you have to have some English fellow with a shaitel and whatever. This is why you need Kallus. Because if you look in the Mishabura, you're not going to know the answer to this kasha. Who knows? Maybe that's Maramis something. I don't know. But I'll upon him. But now for sure you need Kallus. Because Rabbi say, let me tell you, this shaila, this is like the biggest shaila that there is. So I looked around. So there's an eglei tal. The eglei tal. Rabbi say, that's the Sagachover. I love it when people tell me things like, the Chassidim, they're Meiko. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a chumrah from the Chassidim, right? According to the Chassidim, Nussi, I hope you're listening good. No cholent. The eglei tal, it's in a few places, Grada, but the eglei tal, I see I didn't write down the Marmokim, but the eglei tal, Rabbi said in about 2 or 3 places, I'll try and bleed to say the Marmokim. He has in the Hashmatis, the eglei tal is bothered that what happens if you cook water. So then we know water cooking the Yatzel lettuce by is considered, bishul. So he's bothered. What's the bishul of taking cold and going to hot? It bothers him. He doesn't understand why when I take cold water. The other way. He doesn't understand what's the sad of the Rishonim, the Rishonim that hold ain bishul achar bishul even by a liquid. We're going to talk about these things, but the Rishonim that hold once it was cooked. Even if it got down to fully cold now, to totally cold, ain't bishul achar bishul, even by a liquid. The eglei tal is bothered. He says it doesn't make sense to him. What's the difference between cold water that was once cooked and not cooked? He dance. He's very bothered. He has it sad in the Sefer eglei tal to say that it's obviously not even talking about water. It must be talking about like soup or something. But water, there's no difference. A soup, you understand that once you make a soup, it's like a whole different chetza. So maybe that's what the Rishonim meant. But if you have a liquid of water, went from cold to boiling and then back down to cold. What's the difference between this and that? He's bothered by this shaila, and he says maybe even it's not true. Maybe by water, when you take water that was previously cooked and you cook it up again, he has it sad to say that even the Rishonim that say ain bishul achar bishul b'davar lach, they didn't mean by water. By water, they'll agree that it is bishul again. But in the Hashmatis, he says like this. In the Hashmatis, he says, I'll tell you the difference. The difference is that once it's ma'ila resiches, once it gets up to the boiling point, once it gets up to the bubble point, so he says then something changes. Now he's meramis to this. I think others even say it mafurish, that he says once it gets to the boiling point, I'll say it in our scientific language, it goes and it knocks out the bacteria. It takes out all the different protons and enzymes and other little different farm animals and things. So it murders at the point of boiling, it murders all the little sea creatures and things that are inside your water. So he says something did happen to it. So he wants to say that once something happened to it, there was an effect that was created by the bishul. Okay, that's his rate in Mitzvah Shem. We'll see this. And that's why he said that's the shot in those Rishonim that say ain bishul achar bishul, even when it's water that was previously cooked and got cold. Because something occurred with a bishul process. But Al Kapanim, what do you see first? In the eglei tal and the Shevet Levi, in Chelik Zayin and Simon, Nun Beis points this out. He says, you see clear that according to the Egleital, when you go from Yad Saledispai up to the boiling point, there is something that's taking place. So he says, according to the Egleital, Yad Saledispai is Michael Ben Drusai, and Mevushal called Sorcha is when you hit Meiler Resiches, when you get bubbling. According to the Egleital, you will not be allowed on Shabbat to take the water from the urn and go and put it back into the cholent, or put it into the cholent, because now you're going from 185 to 212, and you're causing all those bacteria and whatever to be murdered. There's a Shevet Alevi. He seems to say in that tshuva maybe a little bit different. They want to say it's like a different svara. They want to say the Shevet Levi's lashon is like this. They say, listen, the derech of people is that they cook up water to 212, right? That's what people do. They put a kettle and they wait till it goes to 212. So you see that that's the way that Roif people, when they want to cook a tea, so what do? They cook it up to 212. So therefore, he says, for sure, that's why you see that people still do this, and it's mistamik. It's not just mistamik for Yafalai, and they bring down also, I saw one sefer, he brings a story with the Chazanish, that the Chazanish Taka said that calls man, that it doesn't get to Maler Resiches, as long as it doesn't get to bubbling. So they say that that is considered Mavushal. As Rabbi say, that means in Bnei Brak, your cholent is going to have to burn out. That means if you're a Chassidisha, your cholent is going to have to burn out. And they bring a Balatanya like this. They want to say there's a Graz like this. Your cholent is going to have to burn out. I saw the Shmir Shabbos is very bothered by this Shaila. The Shaila is there anything that any way to save this cholent? Is there any way to save the cholent? No. So what should we do, Rabbi say? What should we do? Is there any way to save the cholent? Right? Not every pot on the fire is 212. Not every pot on the fire is 212. What do you mean? There's a fire underneath. There's a red coils. Of course, it's 212. If you're fire, right? I'm talking about a crock pot. Of course, a crock pot gets up to a crock pot gets up to 300. Of course, a crock pot gets to 212. What do you mean? What's the shadla? What's going on over here? What's going on over here? You guys got to come back to Yerushalayim. I see what's going on over here. You guys have to come back to Yerushalayim. You know, Rabbi say you should go to the consulate, the American embassies or whatever, and apparently you guys are allowed to come back. You just have to sit in quarantine for 14 days, right? So what? And what are you doing now? You're anyways in quarantine for these 14 days, right? We're gonna have to make some kind of group thing that the Olam will be able to come back, and maybe we'll sleep in Slonim or something. I don't know. But you guys have to come back already. Enough of these games already. You have to get back. What do you mean you applied? So why'd they say no? Charter a plane. I don't care if you have to take a bicycle. You got to get back here. So by side, in the meantime, between today and tomorrow, so if your challenge is burning out, you're going to have to be machmir. Okay? If you come back tomorrow, I see the time is up. If you come back tomorrow, so then maybe we'll have a heter. I don't know. If anybody's a heter and he wants to call me, so maybe even I'll give him $20 if it's a heter that I like. But in the meantime, the Chazanish says, what do you mean? You're going from Michael Ben Drusai to Mevushal Kol Tzorchai. And the Chayra Baisai, if you read the Mishnah Berurah, he doesn't say anything. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know which way the Stimas Hadvarim is. What do you think? I don't know. Sebezai, I don't know. Rabbi Leibovitz, what do you say? In the meantime, that's it. The challenge is burning out. You know what else, though? People don't know this. If this is true, we really have to tell this to people, because people don't realize this. They all talk about the cholent klapi, the shaila of, pouring straight from the urn, or they talk about the shaila of, should I take a cup, which we'll talk, that's the shaila pina mecham mecham, right? But we got to find some type of a limit schus over here. What's going to be? Okay, I guess you guys are just going to have to come back tomorrow. How are you guys going to sleep tonight? No? It's going to be very difficult. I know. It's going to be very hard. I know. I feel bad. But Bez Hashem, in the meantime, everybody apply to come back to Eretz Yisrael. And you'll be in quarantine for 14 days. Right? And don't worry, Zoom works in quarantine, and you'll still have the shiur, and they'll be back in Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh. And the fact that they denied Rabbi Greenhouse is not a riot. There's probably other issues here that we don't know about. And I don't know if everybody here has those issues. I didn't want to say it in front of everybody. So I waited till the chat went down from 102 participants to 97. We're under 100. So now, but not everybody's going to be denied like Rabbi Greenhouse. Oh, you miss me, Rabbi Greenhouse, don't you? Oh, you miss me. I miss you all, Rabbi Say. Oh, I miss you all, Rabbi Say. I can't anymore. I need you to come back to me in your Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh, Rabbi Say. Please come back to me, Rabbi Say. Come back. Do whatever you can to come back. Micha, I need you to come to Yerushalayim. Rabbi Brownstein, I need you to come. Jack, I need you to come to Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh. Rabbi Say, I need you to come to me. Levi, come back to me. What do you have over there in Soweto? Come back to me. Come back to me. Rabbi Danziger, make sure you get the little girl a passport and then come back to me. Come back to Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh. I miss you guys. Everybody say, hey, Rabbi Wiener, come back to me. You have now a wife, and then I can be able to make fun of you in the middle of this year. Rabbi Spira, when are you coming back to me, the whole Spira family? When do you come back to Rabbi Elbaz? He's busy making all these pictures of tzaddikim and gedolim and captions and everything. Come back to Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh. Chacham Gazi, who needs you over there in New York? We need you over here. Come back to Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh. Rabbi Bolzim, I know you're here, and that's why I know you're here also, Shalom Yankov. Rabbi Hershov, come back to Yerushalayim, Iyar Kodesh. Please come back to Yerushalayim.